Hello YouTube, Merry Christmas. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I thought it'd be fitting we talk about poinsettias a little bit. So my wife was nice enough to bring a couple home, and she just picked them up at Walmart, I think, or somewhere where she was out doing some Christmas shopping. And yeah, I just thought we'd sort of talk about the care and culture of poinsettias over the holidays. A lot of you guys are going to receive or buy poinsettias, and they make perfect, beautiful holiday arrangements, and they look fantastic. I mean, look at how brilliantly red this one is. And she actually picked me up another one over there as well that I'll show you in just a second. But I just wanted to go over a few tips and tricks to maintain your poinsettia over the holidays. And then after the holidays are over, you can decide whether you want to keep it and continue on in the spring growing it as a house plant or as a tropical plant. But that'll be for a different video. We'll call this part 1. That'll be part 2. And so this is just going to be care and culture of poinsettias over the holidays. So the first thing you'll probably notice when you bring them home are they're somewhat packaged like this. It makes it very hard for you to choose one in the store. Of course, ideally, you want to be able to see them and their foliage out on display. You want to avoid buying any that are already wilted, potentially broken in there, or anything like that. So you want to be able to check the stem if you can, and make sure that nothing's really wilted. And these ones do seem pretty good. There's nothing to indicate anything is wrong with them at all. So of course, we want to remove the cellophane plastic. That is for shipping, although it has a nice bow on it. It's not at all practical to keep them in this cellophane here. But it does keep them safe on the way home, and it does keep them safe for transport. So I'm going to throw that behind you. And this is sort of a beautiful red and white one. You can sort of see you'll definitely be able to see the difference here. One's sort of your more traditional. One is more of a new style, I guess. You're seeing a lot of variety, especially lately. And if you look under, one's white and one's definitely green underneath. So the other thing we want to do is, now that we can sort of see in there, is although this cellophane here, we're still working with cellophane, looks nicer than the pot. In a perfect world, ideally, you're going to want to take this out of the cellophane here. So let's just do that. The reason we want to take it out of the cellophane is because this little thing, it's very impractical. I'm just shaking the dirt out there. The joys of working in the greenhouse, right? It's very unpractical. It gives no drainage to the plant. So that's going to be the next topic that we talk about, is going to be the drainage for the plant. So in a perfect world, if you wanted to cover this up, you could put like a nice sleeve over it, an ornamental pot sort of thing. But you want some drain holes in there so it can drain. And when you bring it home, we'll clean up all the leaves off the bottom, which I'm doing now. I'm seeing this for the first time too. So we're cleaning up all the leaves. I'll put them down. And right now, it's in sort of a peaty cocoa fibery mix. It's nice and airy and light. And if I put my finger in there, I can feel that it's still slightly damp. And I can tell this is going to be a very, very water retentive mix. Now, while they're inside for the holidays, we do want to keep them moist. We don't want to keep them, or we don't want to allow them to dry out. So you always want to be able to stick your finger in the media, and you can tell after it's been there for a second or two how moist it is. If it's becoming dry, then I would give it a little bit of water. We don't want it to be sopping wet. If it is still damp to the touch, I would leave it for another day and just check it the next day. So this one right now, I'm sure hasn't been watered since it left wherever it came from. And it's still, I'll give it some water after the video, but just a little bit. We don't want to soak it. We don't want to soak this pot. This would take a long time to dry out. And believe it or not, these are probably just cuttings. This isn't a seed-growing plant. This is just a cutting. So it may have a good root system. It may have a very weak root system. But if it has a weak root system and you overwater it, the pot is going to stay too wet for too long, and it's actually going to rot what little root system it has. So if we allow it to be more on the moist to drier side, then it's going to allow the roots to be able to work its way out looking for moisture, and you're going to have a healthier plant. So that's sort of tip for watering. Now what you can do is, if you absolutely love these things, which you don't hate them, but they're just not practical because they don't allow it to drain, cut a bunch of drain holes in the bottom, a bunch of slits. You need this to be able to drain out properly in case you overwater it. So I'm going to put this back in there for now. and have a look at this guy as well. As I say, I really like the red ones. So I'm going to just clear up some of these leaves and stuff on the bottom that have fallen off while we talk. And this one is a little bit drier than the last, so I will definitely be giving this one a bit of water. There's a few old leaves that are down there, so I'll clean those up. They can cause fungus and mold to form, especially once the soil is moist. And the last thing you want is for it to be so dry that the soil actually starts shrinking in. Then you know you've gone too far. So nice and evenly moist. As for where to put these guys, well, they are very versatile, but they're a living plant, so ideally by a window is going to be great. Now this time of year in the northern hemisphere, any window will do, but preferably a south window where it's nice and bright as it can possibly be this time of year. We don't have to worry about the sun cooking it or anything like that. It's just too low in the sky and there's not enough heat in it. So a nice bright window will be great for these. As for temperature, again, very, very versatile plant. So in the short term, and for this video, because all we're talking about is Christmas care and the seasonal care of these guys, the winter season, we can keep this from a temperature range of anywhere from 15 Celsius right up until whatever your normal household temperature is, 20, 22, 25. They will tolerate it all. Keep in mind, if it's cooler, water less. If it's warmer, water more, because it is going to dry out faster. But any temperature range that is within the household norms will be fine for them. What you do want to avoid are drafts and anything that's sort of out of the normal. So you wouldn't want to put this on a table with the baseboard heater right under it, or with the heat pump blowing up cold or warm dry air right on this. Dry air is not going to be so good for it, and it's sort of unstable. It's going to be hot and cold and dry, and same with if you put this on a table right by your front door. And we don't get that cold here, but even here, it's drafty. So if you're minus 10 or 20 Celsius and it's right by the door as you open and close it, it's not going to appreciate it very much, and it is going to start to lose its leaves much quicker. So a few final notes. These are not the flowers. This is just called a bract. The flower is actually in there, and it's a fairly unimpressive little thing. We definitely grow poinsettias or display poinsettias for the bract here. The other thing I wanted to touch base on, I think that's pretty much it for care. We covered light, we covered temperature, we covered watering. Humidity, it's not going to be picky, and if you're just growing it for the season, you're not going to have a whole lot of choice for humidity anyways. So we won't worry too much about humidity. But when I was looking into them, I was on Wikipedia there, and I found something that I wasn't aware of. And I printed it off because I do want to say it is from Wikipedia. This is nothing that I'm saying. This is just something that I'm quoting. And I just highlighted a bit of it, and I want to read it for you. And we are all aware of how toxic these are, or as Wikipedia says, aren't. So I was very surprised. And this pertains only to humans. And even with that, I'm going to put a disclaimer up here. I don't care what Wikipedia says. Don't have your children eating these plants. And this doesn't pertain to pets at all. So I have no idea how toxic they are to pets. So keep your pets away from them as well. But what it says, and this is printed directly off Wikipedia, is a common misconception of the poinsettia is that it's highly toxic. The misconception was spread by a 1919 urban legend. And I'm just reading what's sort of highlighted to give you the gist of it. I'm not getting into the full thing. Poinsettia's toxicity is relatively mild. Its latex can cause an allergic reaction in sensitive individuals. It's also mildly irritating to the skin or stomach and may sometimes cause diarrhea or vomiting if eaten. Well, so will a lot of plants. So, sap introduced to the human eye may cause temporary blindness. The American Journal of Emergency Medicine studied 22,793 cases in which there was no fatalities. And usually the case did not even result in any kind of medical treatment. So it also went on to say, for example, of how toxic these are. A 50-pound child, a 23-kilogram child would have to eat 500 bracts to accumulate the levels of toxin found to be harmful in experiments. So I was really, really surprised that these weren't as toxic as I thought. I was really worried, being we have a little guy running around the house, that so I look into that sort of thing. But yeah, I guess that's a misconception. I could be wrong. As I say, I'm just reading this from Wikipedia, but it was interesting to me, so that's why I'm sharing that sort of news with you. You don't have to be quite as scared of them by the sounds of it as the urban legends have been made out to believe. So I hope you like this video, and if you want to see part 2, we are going to go into general care for these, how to care for these after Christmas, unless you want to pitch it in the garbage. But if you want to care for it, stay tuned for part 2, and we are going to do that right now.